Hey everyone, it's me, Dr. Whimsy. I'm here in my home in Hollywood, and I'm shooting this for the upteenth time. I keep getting interrupted. There was a blimp overhead circling me every time I would try to record. So I think it's a little quieter today. The kids are coming home from school, and we're going to go ahead and try and shoot this. And the topic I wanted to talk about is the issue of whether or not it's a good idea to get an education. And a lot of people are arguing that if you go into debt and you can't pay your student loans, then certainly you have to think about cost-effective ways to get an education. The other argument has been that it's not worth our while to get an education if we don't end up getting a profession out of it. Some people in the frugal community would argue that the purpose of going to college is to earn a living. And that's true. Part of the reason why I went to school was to earn a living. But it's not the only reason that you go to school. The main reason that I went to school, and the main reason that Broke Aristocrats supports education, part of what I do here on Broke Aristocrats is not just help people stay healthy, but share my values and my ethics, and hopefully we can have an ethics conversation. I think that morals and ethics, we don't talk about it enough in the common discourse. So I want to share my values as a Broke aristocrat and have other people who I want other people who share the Broke Aristocrats' values to certainly feel like they're comfortable here. Education is extremely important to Broke Aristocrats. We honor education, we respect education, and the primary drive of why a Broke Aristocrat goes to college is not to make money. The primary drive of why a Broke Aristocrat goes to college is to give something back. The primary reason why a Broke Aristocrat goes to college or gets an education is so that they can contribute to the world in a positive way and make the world a better place. And along the way, pick a profession where that is honorable and respectful. You don't have to be famous. You don't have to be a rock star. Be a cab driver, it's all good. Be an Uber driver, it doesn't really matter. As long as you are doing work in the world that is of service, that's enough. But education isn't just about being able to earn a living. When I think back on my own education, I think about how education changed me. I want to talk a little bit about how education has changed me and why I feel so strongly about education. When I was a young girl, I didn't really have a stable upbringing, so having a good primary education was not an option. I was moved around a lot. I had an unstable upbringing. At the age of 17, I dropped out of high school, and I decided I needed to travel and go kind of find myself. So at the age of 18, I moved to Europe, and it was an amazing experience. I lived in Europe for about 3.5, 4 years. I met all kinds of people, and that also was a great educational experience. And then I moved to Jerusalem, Israel, and I lived there for 6 years. I had quite an adventurous life. I didn't make a lot of money, but I learned a lot. I learned about other cultures, and I learned how other people see the world. But one of the things I learned when I was in Jerusalem is the value of an education for education's sake, the joy of learning, the joy of knowledge. When I got back to the United States, I was in my late 20s. I turned 30, and I realized that I had no formal education. I had certainly taken classes, free classes, sat in on classes in Europe and in Jerusalem, in all kinds of subjects, comparative religion, ethics, you name it. And from that experience, I realized what a joy it is to learn. And it profoundly changed my view of education, that education was an honor and a privilege and a joy. But it wasn't until I was 36 years old and I had enrolled in a community college that I decided to get a formal education. And it was an unbelievably humble experience to be sitting there in a college classroom, in a community college, with kids that were 17 years old and were taking advanced courses for college. For people who don't know it, depending upon what your state does, if you are over the age of 27 and you don't make a lot of money, speak to your financial aid counselor at the local community college because your education might be free. I received a free community college education. It was completely free. Didn't have to pay a dime because I was over the age of 27. But let me tell you the best part about it. Every time I went to school, every time I sat in that classroom, I knew that I was going to be changed in ways that were profound, in the sense that the day before I didn't know what I was about to learn, and tomorrow I would learn something new. And with each experience of learning something new, I was changed just a little bit. And I took all kinds of classes, and I encourage people to take all kinds of classes. My favorite classes were childhood development, English literature, anthropology 101, anthropology 201, cultural anthropology. I also found mentors. I found teachers who inspired me to want to be a better person and made me question the values I had grown up with. So I was introduced to other ways of looking at things, and I think that made me a better citizen. It made me a better person. So yes, part of getting an education is to get a job, but here at Broke Aristocrats, we advocate for education simply for education's sake, because the primary drive of education is that you do good in the world and that you contribute something in the world, and that means an education. Education can be going to a public library and checking out a book, and I certainly have done that, but there is great benefit to formal education, to having your education be directed and having mentors and learning how to read something critically, learning how to do research. All of that has value. My advice to people is to try and get a good deal, to get the best education at the best price. And that is why I started at the community college level. I was there for 3 years. I did it. I was humble. Was I 36? No, I was younger. I apologize. I think I was only 33 because I got into medical school at 38. Is that right? I apologize. I was 33. I was 33 when I started community college. I was 38 when I got into medical school. And so yeah, I transferred to the University of Washington, and that was also free up to a point because it was a state college and I was again an older student. So again, please speak to the financial aid counselors in your state. Community college, start with community college, then move on to the university, because you could be avoiding college and college might be free. They also have job placements so that you're able to get a job on campus and earn money. And they also, not only do they offer you free grant money if you're over the age of 27 or if you're a poorer student, but they also offer you a job. You can work in the library, you can work on campus, and that's pretty cool. So then you can be around all that great knowledge. The best thing though for me about college was the teachers that inspired me. I took a class in English literature when I was at the community college. I was, now that I realize it, 35 years old, 35 years old. And there was a professor there that promised that he was going to bring the writers to life for us. That it was going to be such a great class that those writers, those old English writers, were going to come back to life. And he succeeded. and I fell in love with all this amazing literature, and I'd like to believe I was changed for the better. Went on to the university, of course, worked very hard, was at the university for another 2.5 years. I went summer courses as well because I had so much catching up to do. I wanted to start med school as soon as possible. And then I applied to medical school, and thank God I got in, and now I get to live my dream and be a doctor. The good news is my undergraduate degree was pretty much free, and I took out a couple loans. I think I wound up graduating from college with a 4-year degree, about $5,000 in debt. My main debt came from medical school. So I just wanted to have that conversation with people. Don't be daunted. Pursue education if you want to. Make sure to speak to your financial aid officer at the local community college where you live. If you're over the age of 27, or if you're on a fixed or reduced income, absolutely, it's an option to go to school. Those types of programs are certainly available. I want to thank you for watching this Broke Aristocrats video, and I'm going to link below also to some great channels and free education that's available online. I enjoyed having this conversation. Take care. Bye-bye.